In the temple, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Thou shalt not murder. So you're angry. Good. It barely even matters who you're angry at. You might be angry at yourself, like I am, because I know that I can do so much more with my life, and I know that I play it safe, and I know that I act out with cowardice at times. I know that I give in to the sins of my flesh and the folly of my mind. I know that there are times where I am very weak and very stupid. And I know that I can do a lot more and be a lot better and serve God better and live up to Jesus's examples better, but I don't. And that infuriates me. I am angry. And I'm not just angry at myself, I'm angry at the world. Because the world is ridiculous. It is not just broken, it is obviously broken. The problems are really clear for anyone with eyes to see them to see. The problems that the world's facing following some pretty predictable and obvious lines. It's like as Christianity pulls back in society, as we become more secular and more diverse in our faiths and our religions, as atheism rises and paganism rises and the alternatives to Christianity rise, all of the problems that we banished long ago from the Western civilization all of a sudden start coming back. All of a sudden, the West starts looking more and more like a third world country every day. And it's not even a race thing. It's not even about the superficial, the skin color, the demographics of people. So our societies are becoming more and more corrupt, more and more filthy, more ugly. There's greater celebration of evil. We've seen so much celebration of evil, especially in this last week or so. But even without recent events, some of the most deplorable acts, something as unambiguously twisted as child sacrifice, is celebrated as an unambiguous good. When obviously, obviously that's a terrible thing. Obviously that's a terrible thing. And yet here we are. Christianity pulls back from society. And where does that leave us? It leaves us in a position where if you say, hey, maybe we shouldn't murder babies just because they're inconvenient, all of a sudden you're cast out as if you're some sort of weirdo. And Christianity even predicts this. Christianity clearly states what happens when the faithful are quiet, when the churches are empty. And here we are. It's exactly as predicted. We're suddenly all of us are living in no trust societies. All of us have to watch our backs. You can't simply go to the shops and find cheap and plentiful food and know that you can buy it. Know that you'll be safe getting there and safe getting home. You no longer know that the food is going to be free from poison, and if someone does make a mistake and there's some food that shouldn't be sold, then they'll be held accountable. The ideas of justice and peace and order are just completely fallen apart. So yeah, you're angry, and you should be. The question is, now what? What do we do with the anger towards ourselves, with the anger towards society? There are many things that would be a mistake to do at this point. And I have to go over these right up front just to make sure that everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about and that we're all on the same page. Lashing out in anger is a bad thing. Jesus flipped the tables. He scared some people. He damaged some property that shouldn't have been where it was in the first place. He didn't hurt anyone. Thou shalt not murder is still the commandment. Love your neighbor as you love yourself is still the commandment. But it also doesn't mean that you sit there seething in your anger. Because the ugliest and the craziest people on the other side of this issue, that's exactly what they do, and you can spot them from a mile away, and that is why they're so ugly, and that is why they're so crazy, and that is why they have a habit of some of them lashing out in bursts like this. This whole situation is a result of their anger. These wokey communists getting angry at civilization and the protectors of it and the creators of it, completely oblivious to how bad their lives would be without it. This misdirected, this manufactured, this satanic anger that they have. But their anger is not that different from your anger. Yours might have a more righteous cause and yours might have a more righteous target, but anger is still anger. So if you try to bury it or just hold on to it or seethe on about it or think really angry thoughts about it, that is also going to be bad. It's going to be bad for you. And it's going to be bad for the people around you as it's leaking out. And it's going to be bad when it finally erupts. So you don't give in to the anger, but you don't suppress it. So what do you actually do? Anger is useful, so use it. But I really want to emphasize something. And if you'll forgive me for having a bit of a tonal shift here, but the best story I have from my life, the best thing that I could think of, is the story of the angriest seagull that I've ever come across. And I know that you're not a seagull. You are alive. The seagull is alive. It's not as if it's completely irrelevant here. I want you to listen. I want you to either put aside your anger for a moment or hold on to it in the background and demonstrate just a little bit of patience because this is the virtue, one of the many virtues that separates someone like you from the people that you're angry at. And I promise that this will be well worth it. Because I was sitting by the ocean one day with some food, and as what tends to happen with the beaches in Australia, seagulls everywhere. You can't go outside, you can't sit somewhere without them forming an orderly crowd around you. And the crowd was like any other crowd of seagulls, but there was this one particular seagull. It's a little bit bigger than the others, a little bit sort of like higher chest, a bit more puffed out, who was clearly the angry one of this group. I call him Bully because this is what he was doing. He was bullying the other seagulls. So the seagulls would be crowding around me, and Bully is trying to drive them all off. And people, when the other seagulls would get in too close, he'd squawk, he'd lash out at them, he'd snap at them. And to what end? There's dozens of seagulls, and he's intimidating a couple of them for a few seconds at a time. Because his goal is to drive away all the other seagulls. But what does he want? I have a bag of chips, fries if you're American. I have a bag of chips with me. He wants a chip. What is he doing? He's driving away the other seagulls. And at least he's attempting to. But he can't drive them all away, and he can't keep any of them away for long. And so he's so focused on the other seagulls that whenever I toss a chip, a fry into the crowd, he's so focused on trying to drive the other seagulls away that someone else gets it. He's looking to his left and his right, and he's looking at like the seagulls around him. The other seagulls are looking at the chip because that's what they want. They are focused on what they want. And so this plays out as a pattern. This is something that happens every time. Even when I'm tossing the chips directly to Bully, he's so focused on the other seagulls that he just sees something flying at him and he like dodges. He wants the chip and he dodges it because he's not paying attention. He's focused on his fellow seagulls and he's not focused on what he wants. And at some point, a magpie shows up. And if you don't have any experience with Australian magpies, these birds, they're the tough ones. They're the aggressive ones. They're the strong ones. These are the ones who will fight for territory and they'll win. It doesn't matter who they're fighting against. I've seen many magpies fight other birds, and I've never seen them lose. And so this magpie shows up, head back, chest up, just casually sitting there. And every other seagull, including Bully, is freaked out, just watching. And then eventually the magpie leaves and the seagulls go back to doing what seagulls do best. But it was only when, and this took ages, probably there for close to an hour, it was only when Bully stopped paying attention to the other seagulls and actually started paying attention to me and the chip that he was actually able to get it. I tossed it to him, opens his mouth, lands right in his mouth, and he gets exactly what he wanted. Now, this was a very well-fed seagull. This was not some skinny little bully. This was a chunky bully. And even so, his strategy was stupid. His strategy was ridiculous. His strategy was to squawk and flap around and to put all this effort into driving the other seagulls away so that he would have an exclusive access to me and what I had. Ridiculous, because that is not what he wanted. He did not want exclusive access to me. He wanted what I could have provided for him. So if you're going to be angry, good. Just keep this in mind. So you might notice I'm a little bit pink of face this morning because I recently got back from the gym. And this is the first time going to the gym since I heard about Charlie Kirk and how that all happened. And that was days ago, so I've had plenty of time to see the social media responses. I've had plenty of time to see the mainstream media's responses. And I've plenty of time to just sit there and think and feel. It's been long enough that I heard Erica Kirk's brief statements to the public. It's been long enough that I've heard what so many seemingly normal people People who would call themselves good and compassionate, maybe even wise. Listen to them celebrate something like this and wish that it would happen even more. So I went to the gym this morning. And as often happens, walking on the way to the gym, walk past this luxury car rental place, which is always such a strange place to walk past. And the doors are open. You can see like these Maseratis. You can see these yachts and all sorts of just beautiful cars. I get to the gym. It's been a while since I've been this sore after a session at the gym. And it was funny because it was a shorter session than usual. I'm there. I do boxing as a not as a competitive sport, but as like an exercise discipline. So it was mostly me in the bag. And I had a shorter session this morning. I'm far more sore from it than usual, far pinker afterwards than I normally am. Because this is an obvious way that anger can serve you. If you want to know why the wokies get so twisted by their anger, one of the reasons is that they don't exercise. They don't work. They don't do anything. They feel that anger and then just sit there and marinate it. And then they scroll on TikTok and Instagram and just get more lies and beaming into their face. They get angrier and angrier. Anger is not something you're supposed to marinate in. If you're feeling anger, you need to take action. Again, so no one takes me out of context. Flip tables, yes. Also, thou shalt not murder. This is not a call for it to respond to what happened with Charlie in kind. Absolutely not. I will never suggest that. The point is that anger is supposed to activate you. If you're angry that you're poor, then get to work. If you're angry that you're single, get out there and meet people. If you're angry and you don't know what to do about it, go for a walk, hit the gym, do something. Get out there into the world because anger is supposed to get your body moving. And for your body to move, you need to be present in the moment. Anger is response to someone violating your boundaries. And imagine that's literal. Imagine that is physically happening. You have a bubble around you a few meters in every direction, let's say, and someone is just willfully and aggressively and maliciously violating that. They're getting in your face. You need to pay attention to that person and you need to attend to that. You need to restore your boundaries. That is what you need in that moment. But everything is so digital and amorphous these days. It's not a person entering your space or getting up in your face. It's the algorithm delivering these just concentrated insanity from people, from foreign agents pretending to be people, from bots pretending to be people. It's all just coming at you. And the worst thing that you can do with that is to just sit there and consume more. If you feel anger, get moving. You want to build this in your mind as a habit, as a response, as something that's automatic. Go from anger to movement, anger to movement, anger to movement. This is how you need to re engineer your nervous system. Now, there are times where that's not appropriate. Fine. Like, let's say you're in a meeting with your boss or a client and, they're getting under your skin. Sometimes, yeah, you do need to, you will feel angry. You do need to sit there and you need to pretend that everything is calm. And you need to say words to them and like whatever. But most of the time, you have that choice, you have that option. Because if there's something about you or the world that pisses you off, makes you so angry you could just scream, then it's probably not something that's just happening right in front of you. It's a thought you've had, it's a memory you've had, it's something that you've seen on social media. Something has gotten under your skin, something has pissed you off. And the response to that is to get moving, is to do something. To do anything is better than to do nothing. But to do something that will address this, that will get to the heart of this, is even better still. One of the things that's helped keep me sane over the last few days is the just the intensely positive reactions from people from this tragedy. And I'm not talking about positive as in the people who are celebrating. That is twisted. That is disgusting. I mean, the people who are heartbroken, who are sad, who are angry, who are frustrated, but are saying, this changes things for me. I'm now going to go to church for the first time. I'm going to get serious with my girlfriend, my boyfriend, rather than just, wasting time having fun. I want to build a family. Hearing people talking about getting in shape and repairing their relationships with their family, with their friends, with God, with themselves. People who are motivated to build businesses, to get into politics, to take all of this seriously. Because for so many people, for so long, all of this was like, oh, it's just left versus right. Oh, they're all bad. They all say violent things. They're all stupid in their own ways. Yes, so many people have woken up to the reality that no, this is not symmetric. The existence of bad actors on both sides overlooks the fact that there is way more on one. That the celebration of what happened to Charlie is part of the mainstream left. Okay, the party of the most vulgar sins, and atheism and cynicism and hatred towards Western civilization and hatred towards the people who build and maintain it. There's weird love of the most like anti-human philosophies that you've ever heard of. If someone tells you that the world would be better off if there were no people in it, you know how that person votes. You know what they think about right-wing politicians. You know what they think about transgender issues or cancel culture. Things are starting to get a lot clearer. And I have no doubt that the enemies of civilization will begin to infiltrate the right once again. Once conservatives seize control of the culture and the politics, as seems almost inevitable at this point, now that people who are on the fence or in the center are seeing just what the left celebrates. I have no doubts that the enemies of civilization and the enemies of God will make a much stronger effort to re-infiltrate conservative movements. Because I'm not old, but I'm old enough to remember when the left wing was genuinely on the side of humanity and progress, or at least they made an effort of pretending to. And yet all of the pro-human and pro-civilization policies, like reverence for life and a suspicion of power and an eagerness to hold the powerful in check, and the freedom for people to express themselves however they want. I'm old enough to remember when those were left wing ideals, and now they're extremely right coded. Because what happened was the left had cultural momentum, and the enemies of God, the enemies of you, hijacked that movement. And so, what's inevitably going to happen in the wake of any conservative victory in the culture, in politics, whatever, is that the enemies of God will try to re-infiltrate the conservatives. And I hope that you can hold on to this anger that you're feeling enough to remember who your enemies are. Because your enemies aren't the left, it's the people behind the left. Like, who came up with these insane anti civilization, anti God philosophies and politics and policies? Didn't emerge naturally. These come from the enemies of God. And so it's a mistake to treat this as a tribal thing, as if the conservatives will always be the good guys and the liberals will always be the bad guys. Because it's whoever's most closely aligned with family, with civilization, and with God, they're the good guys. And we've seen how politics can flip. So I want you to make sure that your anger is not directed at your fellow people, your fellow citizens. Your anger is directed where it should be. So I want you to focus. I want you to take your anger, use it as fuel to move you in the best possible direction, as fast as you can possibly go. That's what needs to happen on the wake of this. You need to very carefully choose a direction and then figure out how to get there and use the anger that you feel towards yourself, towards the world. Use that anger to get you there. That's the whole purpose of anger. The world is broken. The world has always been broken, and it always will be. It, it's, and there's nothing we can do about that fundamental fact except to use it. Because if you are angry at the world, you should be, because it's a mess. It's a broken, fallen, sometimes pathetic and horrifying mess. And it would be insane not to be angry at that. The difference between righteous anger and the sort of insane foolishness that just seems to typify the political left these days and could one day, 10, 20 years from now, typify the conservatives, but for now at least, doesn't. The difference between that insane anger and righteous anger is what you do with it and where you direct it. What do you want? What is your anger about? Because your anger is not about defeating your enemy. That's how the left thinks about this. They're angry, so they want to defeat you. But what you really want is for your children to grow up safe, to live in a civilization that respects truth, beauty, and goodness. You just want to be left alone. You want peace. That is what you want. Then focus on the chip. Stop focusing on other people. Focus on what you want. Use your anger to get what it is that you really want. Let the fools, let the easily brainwashed, let the spiritually corrupt, let the emotionally immature idiots take their anger and direct it at other people and do horrifying things like we've seen, especially this last week. Let them wallow in that. And if you need to, if your path to peace, if your path to safety involves putting those people behind bars, or re educating them, or seizing control of popular culture, or getting involved in politics, then go ahead and do that. But just focus on the chip at all times. Keep your eye on exactly what it is that you want. Because Satan loves a misplaced crusade, a misguided crusader. Be wise enough to see what it is that you want and to go cleanly after it is that you want. You don't want destruction. You want creation. You want protection. You want to look after the people who are important to you, to build something worthy, and then to nurture it, and then for your descendants and for your peers to take what you've built and build on that. So do that. If you get angry at yourself, good. Do that with your anger. If you get angry at the world, good. Do that. Improve your circumstances. Improve the world. Protect yourself from other people, especially the crazy ones. Yes, but don't focus on them. Focus on the chip. This is exactly how you get what you want. And anything else merely makes you a tool of Satan. Because as you go about pursuing a noble goal in a foolish and insane way, all you're going to be doing is serving his dark plan. But instead, if you focus on what's important, family, God, civilization, legacy, focus on what you want and not on what you don't want. Focus on the peace and the protection you want to provide, the safety you want to provide, that you want your family to enjoy. Focus on that and go after it.